And in one long hiss, the python changed into a handsome young man. He stood tall, clean, and elegant, wearing a very expensive dark suit. His shoes were shiny, his wristwatch sparkled like ice, his hair was neat, and his face looked like it came out of a magazine. In his right hand, he carried a black suitcase that looked heavy and important. The man smiled at nothing. A slow, calm smile, the kind of smile that hides secrets. Without looking back at the tree, he walked straight out of the forest. At the edge of the road, beside thick bushes, a black Benz was parked quietly. Its body shone like a mirror. Its lights blinked once as if it recognized him. He opened the driver's door and sat inside. The engine started with a soft growl. He adjusted his suit, placed the suitcase on the passenger seat, and drove out into the open road like someone who already knew where he was going. Lagos nightlife was bright and loud. Music filled the air. Car horns, laughter, shouting, dancing. Everything mixed together like fire and smoke. The Benz moved gently through the busy streets and stopped in front of a popular nightclub. Blue and red lights flashed over the entrance. He stepped out of the car. People turned to look at him immediately. Nobody knew him. But from the way he dressed, the way he walked, and the expensive car he drove, they could tell he was not a poor man. He pushed the club door open. Warm air and loud music rushed at him. People were dancing, drinking, shouting, and living life without thinking twice. The DJ was playing a hot song. The crowd was wild. The handsome stranger walked straight to an empty table by the corner and sat quietly. He placed the suitcase beside him. Nobody knew who he was, but almost everyone stole glances at him, especially because he looked too rich, too calm, too mysterious. Then, something caught his eyes. A girl was dancing on the stage. She moved with confidence, like someone who had danced all her life. Her hair bounced, her smile was bright, and her steps were sharp. The club lights made her look like she was glowing. Her name was Julia. Everyone in the club knew her. She was energetic, pretty, and always the center of attention. But tonight, she had no idea her life was about to change forever. The stranger reached for his suitcase. The moment he opened it, bright lights from the club hit the inside, and something shocking happened. The suitcase was full of cash. Bundles, 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 stacked neatly from one end to the other. People near the table gasped. One girl shouted, "Jez! My goodness!" Another man froze and cleaned his eyes to be sure he was not dreaming. Nobody knew him. Nobody knew where he came from. Nobody knew why he carried such money. But he didn't care. He took 2 thick bundles of cash and walked towards Julia. The DJ shouted, "It may seem as though we have a very big boy in our midst tonight." Julia herself paused mid-step when she saw the handsome stranger coming closer. Before she could say a word, the man began to spray her. Money flew in the air like leaves in a storm. People screamed in shock. Phones came out. Videos started. Everybody looked confused. Who is he? Where did he come from? See money? This one is not normal money. Julia's mouth fell open. She smiled wide and continued dancing as he kept spraying her without stopping. Finally, the stranger returned to his seat with the same calm smile on his face. He closed the suitcase slowly. Julia could not hold herself. She jumped off the stage and ran after him. She reached his table, pulled a chair, and sat down directly in front of him. "I haven't seen you here before," she said, breathing fast from excitement and dancing. The man looked up at her with a gentle smile. "My name is Doha." Julia nodded slowly. Something about him felt strange, but she liked the attention and definitely liked the money. Then he asked the question nobody expected. "Will you marry me?" Julia blinked so fast, she looked like someone who just heard breaking news. "We just met," she said, laughing nervously. "You don't even know me." "It doesn't matter," Doha replied softly. "Some things are meant to be." Julia looked beside him at the suitcase that still held plenty money. She swallowed hard. Then, Doha opened a small box. Inside was a diamond ring, a real one. It shone like it held a piece of the sun. Doha went down on one knee. People screamed. Phone lights pointed at them. Some women held their heads. Men shouted in confusion. Julia grabbed the ring with her two hands, her mouth wide open. "It's diamond," she said loudly. Doha nodded once. "Yes, it is." She stared at him again, then stared at the ring, then back at the suitcase of cash, then back at him. "Yes, I will marry you," she said, almost jumping. The crowd cheered. People clapped. The DJ shouted, "This one is real love." Doha stood up, and Julia hugged him with excitement. She smelled his perfume and felt goosebumps all over her body. Everything was happening too fast, but she didn't care. A few minutes later, Doha picked up his suitcase. "I have to go," he said calmly. Julia grabbed her bag quickly and stood up to follow him. But Doha stopped her. "Don't worry. We will see tomorrow. Right here. Same place. We will see Tabai. Hevsetter." Julia frowned a little. "You're leaving alone?" He touched her cheek gently. "Tomorrow," he repeated, with a soft smile. She nodded, though confused. Doha walked out of the club, carrying the suitcase. Everyone stared at him as he left. Some followed him outside to see where he was going, but he entered his Benz and drove away before anyone could say a word. He drove to the same forest where he came from. He parked the car beside the bushes, opened the door, stepped out quietly. Immediately, his feet touched the ground. His body began to twist. His hands bent. His legs folded. His skin shifted. His suit fell to the floor, and within seconds, he turned back into a python. The big golden snake crawled into the darkness of the forest with the same calmness he had earlier. His suitcase disappeared with him. The forest swallowed him whole. But something strange was happening deep inside the forest, something that Julia had no idea about. And tomorrow was coming fast. Julia did not wait for the club music to finish. She did not wait to rest. She did not even wait to breathe. She ran home with full speed like someone being chased by the wind. Her heart was beating fast, not from fear, but from excitement. She held her expensive diamond ring carefully, so it would not fall. She also carried her small bag tightly, the bag that contained bundles of money the mysterious man Doha had given her. When she reached her house, she pushed the door of their room open so hard that it hit the wall. Her two friends, Sonia and Kemi, who were sitting on the bed, jumped in fear. "Julia, what is wrong with you?" Sonia shouted, holding her chest. But Julia did not answer. She stretched her hand out, her fingers spread apart, showing them the shining diamond ring. "Girls, look!" she screamed with joy. The ring sparkled like a tiny star on her finger. Sonia's eyes widened until they looked like they would fall out. "Wait, is this real diamond?" Sonia asked, moving closer. Julia smiled proudly and nodded fast. "Yes, real diamond." Kemi swallowed hard. "From where? My chops are. My. Julia rolled her eyes dramatically. "Relax. I didn't steal it," she said. "I met a big boy today. A billionaire." Sonia and Kemi looked at each other, confused. Julia opened her bag and started bringing out bundles of cash, dropping them like she was unpacking clothes. The bundles kept coming and coming. Sonia and Kemi froze. They did not blink. They did not move. They did not breathe. What is this?" Kemi whispered. "Money," Julia shouted. "He gave me all this money, and he proposed with this ring." Sonia shook her head slowly. "Julia, are you sure you didn't go and steal?" "I didn't steal anything," Julia snapped. She flipped her long braids and sat proudly on the bed. I told you girls to follow me to the club today, but you refused. Now look, I'm not giving you people a dime. Sonia hissed loudly. Kemi sat up straight. Julia, calm down, Kemi said softly. We are happy for you, but I don't think this is okay. Julia frowned. What do you mean? It is too sudden, Kemi continued. How well do you know this man? Who is he? Where is he from? Where did he get all this money? Immediately, she finished talking. Sonia and Julia shouted at her together. Shut up, Sonia said. You don't know anything, Julia added. Kemi kept quiet, but she still looked worried. Julia hugged the diamond ring to her chest, smiling like someone who won a lottery. I'm going to marry him, she whispered to herself. My life has changed. But Kemi looked away. Something in her heart was not comfortable. Something about Doha did not feel normal. The next night came quickly. Deep inside the forest, under the same giant tree, something moved again. The leaves shook. The air became silent. A long python crawled out from the roots of the tree. Its golden scales shone brighter than before. Its eyes glowed like two small lamps. Once again, its body twisted. Its skin cracked. Its shape stretched. And slowly, the python changed back into the handsome man called Doha. Tonight, he wore another expensive suit. This time, his outfit had a golden touch. Even his new suitcase sparkled like treasure. He smiled to himself and walked to the road where his Benz was waiting. He entered the car and drove straight to the nightclub again. Julia was already outside the club with her friends, dressed beautifully. She kept looking left and right, waiting. That's him! That's him! She suddenly shouted when she saw the Benz. As soon as Doha parked and stepped out, Julia ran to him like a child running to her father. She jumped on him and hugged him tightly. But when her skin touched his, she gasped. Wait, why is your body this cold? She asked, pulling back a little. Doha smiled calmly. Oh, it's the AC in the car. I like it very cold. Julia did not suspect anything. She laughed and hugged him again. Sonia and Kemi also greeted him with excitement. Welcome, sir, Sonia said, almost bowing. Kemi greeted too with a handshake. But her eyes stayed on him with hidden fear. That coldness she felt from his handshake was not normal. When they entered the club, people who saw him the previous day began shouting, Boss, big man, man of the night, spray us again. Phones were already out. People wanted another show. Doha didn't smile. He only nodded a little and walked inside with Julia holding his arm proudly. Julia's friends could not stop staring at him like he was a celebrity. While they sat down, Doha leaned back, looked into Julia's eyes, and spoke calmly. I want to visit your parents tomorrow, Julia screamed. Sonia screamed. Kemi screamed too, though her own scream was small and worried. They jumped up and danced around like children. Julia kissed Doha's cheek. Ah, you're serious. You really want to marry me, she shouted. Doha only smiled in a strange, careful way. But from the corner of the club, two men were watching. They sat in the shadows, wearing black coats. Smoke floated around them as they puffed quietly. One of them was Dennis. Dennis, Julia's ex-boyfriend. His eyes were sharp with jealousy, and his friend beside him kept whispering angrily. Look at her. She has followed another man, the friend muttered. Dennis kept staring at Doha with cold burning in his eyes. That man, something is not right about him, Dennis said. But Doha did not look in their direction. He did not even seem to notice them. After a while, Doha stood up. Let's go, he said. Julia picked her bag immediately. Sonia and Kemi ran after them. Doha walked out of the club, opened his car door, and motioned for them to enter. I want to show you something. The girls entered the car. As he drove, the road became quieter and more beautiful. The street lights glowed softly. Expensive houses lined the road. Flowers grew around tall fences. Julia's mouth was wide open. "Where are we?" she asked. Doha stopped in front of a beautiful duplex. The house looked fresh and expensive, with bright lights, clean walls, and a small garden at the front. He stepped out and pointed at it. "I bought this house," he said softly, "and it is in your name, Julia." Julia screamed so loudly that even the gate shook. "Oh my God!" she cried. She ran to him and hugged him tightly. She even lifted her legs in excitement. Sonia and Kemi clapped their hands, shaking their heads in disbelief. Kemi whispered to Sonia, "This is too much, too fast, too strange." But Julia did not hear anything. She was dancing around the compound, touching the walls, opening the gate, closing it again, and laughing like a child. She jumped on Doha again, wrapping her hands around his neck. "I love you. I love you," she shouted. Doha held her gently. But his smile was not a normal smile. It was the smile of someone who was hiding something huge, something dangerous, something Julia was not ready for. And deep inside the forest, the giant tree trembled slightly, as if something was waking up, as if something was watching, as if tomorrow would not be normal. The following week was like a dream for Julia. From the moment Doha said he wanted to marry her, everything happened, fast, too fast, but nobody cared. Doha had money, more than enough money, and, in the eyes of many people, money was more important than questions. Julia's parents were the happiest. Her father kept smiling from morning till night. Her mother walked around the compound, bragging to neighbors. "My daughter is marrying a rich man," she said to anyone who cared to listen. "A billionaire! God has done it!" Her friends, Sonia and Kemi, helped with every preparation. Sonia was proud to walk around with a friend who had suddenly become a big woman. Kemi, however, still had a strange feeling about everything, but she kept quiet. The wedding day arrived. It was grand. It was loud. It was colorful. Expensive decorations everywhere. Luxury cars lined up outside. People from far and near gathered. Musicians sang. Cameras flashed. Food did not finish. Julia wore a beautiful wedding gown that sparkled like fresh snow. Doha stood beside her, dressed in white and gold. His smile never left his face. But something was strange, very strange. No single member of Doha's family attended. Not his father, not his mother, not a sibling, not a cousin, not even a distant relative. People whispered, "Where is his family? How can a man so rich come alone? Maybe they live abroad. Maybe they couldn't travel." But after one look at all the money spent that day, everyone forgot their questions. Some people even said, "Who needs his family when he has this kind of money?" Nobody wondered where he came from. Nobody asked for his background. Nobody checked his story. They were too busy eating, dancing, taking pictures, and enjoying the show. Even Julia did not care. Love and money had covered her eyes. When the wedding ended, Julia and Doha moved into their new beautiful duplex. Julia's pride grew like a balloon. Everywhere she passed, people stared. She walked with so much confidence that even her shadow looked proud. She would smile and say to her friends, "I am now a big woman. My husband is a billionaire. Everything I want, he will buy for me." But deep down, she didn't know the truth about the man she married. At first, the marriage looked perfect. Doha bought her expensive clothes. He bought her jewelry. He filled the house with gifts. He gave her money. He treated her gently. But one strange thing kept happening. Every night, Doha disappeared. He never slept in the house. Julia would dress up for bed, enter the room, and ask, "Baby, are you not sleeping yet?" And he would reply, "No, I have to travel to Ghana tonight." At first, she was shocked. Ghana? Every night? Why? Ghana. And Doha would answer calmly, "I have a factory there. I must check it every night. By morning, I will be back." Out of excitement and gullibility, Julia accepted. She didn't ask the kind of factory he owned. She didn't ask the name. She didn't ask for information. She didn't ask how he traveled to Ghana and returned in a few hours. She simply believed everything he said because the money was too much for her to think clearly. When he left every night, she would smile at herself and say, "My husband is a hard-working billionaire. Let him work. I will enjoy the money." But Julia did not know that Doha wasn't going to Ghana. He was going back into the forest, back to the big tree, back to his true form. Every night, under the moonlight, he would change into a python and crawl into the shadow of the forest. Julia had no idea until one night. It was around 11 p.m. Julia was in the bathroom of their bedroom. She had a big mirror in her hand as she did her skincare routine. The bathroom light was bright. The mirror reflected everything clearly. She was singing softly when she heard the door open. "Baby, is that you?" she asked. There was no answer. She continued applying her cream. Then she lifted the mirror to check her face. What she saw behind her made her freeze. Her heart stopped for a moment. In the mirror, behind her, stood Doha, who wanted to tell her he was leaving. But he was not normal. From the waist down, the mirror showed a long, thick python tail, golden, shiny, moving slowly, like it was alive. Julia stared in shock, her eyes wide, her mouth open but no sound coming out. Her hands began shaking so badly that she dropped the mirror. She slowly turned around. Doha stood there. "Is everything okay?" he asked, but he looked completely normal. No tail, no scales, no snake-like appearance, just the handsome face she married. "Baby?" he said in a calm voice. Julia stepped back, fear covering her entire body. I saw something in the mirror," she stammered. "Maybe it's my imagination. I'm sure it was." Doha blinked slowly. His calm smile disappeared for the first time. His eyes sharpened. "It was," he said. Without saying another word, he stepped out and closed the bathroom door, turned around, and disappeared. Not by walking away, not by running, not by jumping. He simply vanished. Like he stepped into a shadow and the shadow swallowed him. Julia pushed her back against the bathroom wall, breathing heavily. Her legs felt weak. Her whole body trembled. That night, she could not sleep. She paced around the room, checking the other mirror in the bedroom again and again, afraid to look, afraid not to look. Her heart kept pounding with one question. Was it my imagination? Morning came. Doha returned as if nothing happened. He wore another expensive suit, calm and gentle. "Good morning, my love," he said, smiling. Julia's breath shook. The image of the tail refused to leave her mind. She wanted to ask him again, but she stayed quiet. Doha touched her cheek gently. "Why do you look scared?" he asked. Julia forced a smile. I didn't sleep well." Doha nodded. "It is fine. Prepare yourself. We will go somewhere tonight." "Where?" she whispered. "You will see." His smile was soft, but something in his eyes looked sharper than before, almost as if he knew she saw something and was waiting. Julia swallowed hard. Her life had changed, but she didn't know if it was for better or for something far more dangerous. And somewhere deep inside the forest, the giant tree moved again, as if something bigger was waking up, something connected to Doha, something Julia was not ready to face. Would you like to see another episode of this story? Please subscribe and tell us in the comments where you are watching from.